This is the Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast.
If you know us, you know how much we love a federal budget. Wow.
We love it so much we turned it up and had a party.
Here to tell us, well, obviously, he's going to tell us how great it is. Our friend, the Prime Minister. Good morning, Albo.
G'day, good to be with you, and it's good that Nathan's back. You got the whole team.
Yeah, we're back together.
I missed you last week.
He was mucking around. The Prime Minister was mucking around with your chair there, Nathan.
Yeah.
I was a bit worried that you might be off put.
Albo, I know that we have to show you the utmost respect because you're the leader of our fine country, but if you do that again, you will go down.
When you weren't there, we didn't have quoits.
Mate.
There were
no
no darts.
The circus is out of
There were no
town.
games in the studio at all.
Yeah.
It was very serious, wasn't it, Prime Minister?
It was. Nat and Sean were very, very serious. We were last week. Very serious indeed.
I was at Hollywood Hospital with my mother for the week, Albo.
Yeah, but Amy was. I was talking with Amy
Our
off
producer.
air, and she said that your mum's going okay now.
Mum's
So
going all
that's
right
good.
now.
She's turned the corner.
Shout out to your mum.
Yeah.
She really does miss the hospital food, though. No, the hospital food at Hollywood Hospital
Yeah.
is
They
amazing.
do a
There
good
is
job.
a rack of lamb, Elbow, right? This is so funny. So Dad was doing this thing, right, where he would, because Dad gets very excited about free things, and in his mind, the hospital is free. So he was very excited for dinner time because he would have the conversation of whether Mum's going to have the hospital dinner or if he's going to order that, and then I'll get him something else. I'll get Mum something else. So he did that most of the night. Anyway, all week, Elbow, I was telling him, get the rack of lamb because it's got a rack of lamb on the menu. And Dad goes, no, it's hospital food. It's not going to be
They
good.
got a menu.
Yeah, a menu.
Hooly dooly.
This is a private hospital,
Yes,
Albo, so you know.
So then Dad orders so Mum's last day there, that's when she was getting her surgery, her last night there, and I said to Mum, you're going to be starving after your surgery. I said, why don't you get, Mum goes, oh, no, let's get the rack of lamb. So Mum orders it. Anyway, it comes out, Elbow, it looks like it's out of a fine dining restaurant. It was amazing, and Dad couldn't have it, and the regret, it's all he's been talking about for the last week is the fact that he didn't get this lamb.
Is there...
Well, I just learned something about you that we have in common as well, which
What?
is we're only sons.
Yes, we are. I know. So, because we are enough.
Prime Minister, is there a rack of lamb money in the
That's what I
budget
say
for
to my
everyone?
son. No, but there is tax cuts in the budget
Yeah.
for everyone, and there's energy bill relief for everyone as well.
That's great.
In addition to that, we've got increased, I've spoken on your program before about how successful the Medicare urgent care clinics are, and we'll have almost 30 new ones of them.
How many will WA get, Prime Minister?
They're getting their share. I think they get 4 or 5 more on top of what they've got already.
They're good. I'm all for an urgent care
They're
clinic.
up in Broome. They're down in Bunbury. They're there. I've been to a couple of the ones there in the centre of Perth. There's one at Midland. So they're making an enormous difference, taking pressure off those emergency departments. You don't
And GPs,
want to end up in an ED waiting if your kid falls off the bike or you cut
Because they can
I
do
understand.
X-rays and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
no.
It's
Yeah,
much
they
better.
can do.
It's great.
Hey, Prime Minister,
They're that midpoint,
Yeah.
so it'll make a difference.
there's a few things that people are always looking at when it comes to budgets and more so the future, or the short-term future, and that is how we're going to get interest rates down so we're paying less on our mortgages. How can we go to the shops and not pay a truckload for food because everything's gone up with inflation? And the other thing is obviously energy and the bills that we come through, which you've dealt with, which is fantastic. The other two, how are we going to get inflation down? Because if you're in the opposition, you're always going to say the opposite because that's what the deal is. But do you believe that what Jim Chalmers has done with this budget is going to help bring that inflation under control by the end of the year, therefore that we all benefit across the board?
Well, it will make a positive difference, and that's what Treasury has estimated. What we did, we sat down in the Expenditure Review Committee, which is a
Sounds
very
fun.
dull
God,
committee.
Imagine.
Were there good
that
sandwiches at least?
Mate, it goes for hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks, and it seems like years, let me tell you, going through line by line. But making sure that the measures we've put in place on cost of living also contribute to putting that downward pressure on inflation.
Yeah.
So measures like fee-free TAFE. So big winners for people who are doing TAFE courses. I've been to TAFEs there in the West with people studying everything from new sort of energy apprenticeships to people studying to be chefs across nursing across a range of areas. And doing fee-free TAFE cuts the cost, obviously, for them, but it also contributes to the economy and reduces inflation. So good for both. The energy price relief plan that we've got, by taking money off bills rather than giving people a cash payment, what you do is you put that downward pressure on inflation.
Yeah.
So Treasury estimate that our cost of living policies will reduce headline inflation by 0.75% in the financial year we're in now.
Fingers crossed,
and 0.5% next year. And importantly, we've produced now 2 budget surpluses. The former government didn't produce any.
Yeah.
Never.
We're going into deficits,
every year.
We're going into deficits, aren't we, after this?
Well, we've reduced the bottom line by over $200 billion over 6 years. So, yes, there are deficits projected in the future, but they're lower than what they would have been, what was projected under the former government. And we turned a $78 billion deficit into a $22 billion surplus last year.
Yeah. And that's just the idea of people bringing their own tea bags into work, Sean. So it really loosened up a lot of money.
Yes.
Hey, we've been to Parliament House. We know it works. Mate, we've got to pay for that cafeteria somehow.
Hey, Albo, so there are great things like, you know, the energy rebate and all that sort of stuff, you know, and they're small little things that help.
Stuff too,
Medication stuff as well. And I explained the cost of living at the moment like the head of Hydra. You cut off one head and then 7 more appear. And that's with cost because everything seems to be going up. Can you be really honest with me right now and honest with people in Australia? Is this just life now? Is this the price we're going to be paying now? And is this the reality of the housing situation now? Because we're complaining about it. We hear politicians saying they're going to do something about it. It doesn't seem to be working across the board because, as I said, when something's reduced in price or you get a rebate from something, 7 other things go up. So is this just, are we just living in a more expensive world post-COVID now and we just have to deal with it in our own lives and make it work? Because it seems like that's what the reality is.
Well, there has been a long tail from COVID because it exposed some of supply chain issues that are still there. And there's also, you had on energy, you had the biggest international energy crisis since the 1970s with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It just flowed through right around the world. So you've got to be straight about that, and you've got to be straight as well about housing is a supply issue that you can't fix overnight. But what you can do is put your shoulder to the wheel to make a difference. And on inflation, it is now half what we inherited. So the annual inflation rate at the moment is down to 3.6%. Now, we want to get it to between 2 and 3%. The measures that we've put in place are aimed at further moderating inflation. And it's not a simple issue. So when we sat down and did the budget, we had to look at measures that would put that downward pressure on inflation while giving support to people. That's why we made the decision earlier this year too. We know people were doing it tough, so we changed the tax cuts. That was a big call. And it was the right thing to do, done for the right reason. I was criticised at the time. No one now, not even the opposition who opposed everything, they ended up voting for it. Because it was the right thing to do, so that your listeners who are earning $45,000 or less would have got not a single cent. They'll get a tax cut now on July 1. The measures that we put in place as well for students, so that we've wiped $3 billion off people's HECS debt, will make a difference as well, making sure that for people undertaking prac training as part of their course in teaching and nursing, they'll get paid for that. So we've tried to address support where it's needed. 10% increase in rent assistance on top of the 15% increase that we had last year. Again, making a difference in a targeted way, as well as those measures that go right across the economy to everybody, which includes the energy bill relief and the tax cuts for every taxpayer.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to work with.
People
the proof
always
will be in
want
the
more,
pudding.
is the bottom line.
Well, that's right.
Yes.
But going back to what Nathan was saying, are we
Yeah.
just stuck in this time where
Yes.
we've accepted this is the price
The
rather?
question is it a hump or is the line going up?
Because I can tell you right now, I do not feel that the way that you can't afford, like, people cannot afford anything at the moment, you know? Like the amount of pensioners I see walking around the shops now because they're frightened to turn their power on.
And the fact that at the moment we've had warm weather, people are relieved because they don't have to turn the heater. They've delayed turning that heater on by
I mean, a simple product that you like at the shops, that product over the last couple of years could have gone up $1.20, $2. So the fact is, like, I do not see, since post-COVID, the price is ever coming down.
The housing one's a real
inflation. Inflation is moderating.
Yeah.
It is less
So it's not going up by as much, is what that means.
It's half.
It's still going up.
Of
It's not going
the
up
level.
by as much.
It's going up by across the board. 3.6% is the annual figure. But one of the things that we've had to do as well that will make an enormous difference is that producing 2 budget surpluses in a row.
Yeah.
And people, I think, get that. People get that, running a budget. People have got to run budgets at home. They can't spend more than is coming in. And what we're doing in running 2 budget surpluses in a row, the first time that's happened in almost a couple of decades, and certainly there were no surpluses under the former government, that will make an enormous difference and will assist as well. So that delicate balance that we had to do of providing relief and support whilst being responsible and delivering a budget surplus was a difficult task. But in Jim Chalmers' budget last night, we announced both of those things. Support, relief, but also a budget surplus.
Yeah, fingers crossed that inflation rate can come
down. You must be wrapped about talking about this all day long.
Oh my God, you must you're going to say this same stuff how many times today? I would drive into a tree.
But this will be the highlight of my There's no one else I'm speaking to who has their photo on the lodge.
That's a great
Thank
point.
you so much.
It's a great point.
And believe me, we've already started discussing your wedding gift. Got a few ideas. Mate, you're going to have to move that. You're going to have to move that picture just over slightly. Something else is going on the mantle.
Very good.
Have a great day and
happy budget day.
Thanks for your time.
And you guys, thanks a lot. Bye
Bye.
Very pleased about your mum.
Oh, thanks, Albo.
Are you going to do a rove and say hi to your mum for me?
Of course I am.
Yeah.
Of course I am. We love our mums and
she likes it when you use her name. It's Marlene. Say it to her.
Marlene.
She's in bed right now. Speak to her. Say it to her.
G'day, Marlene. I'm glad you're feeling better.
She sleeps with nothing on.
And I hope Nathan gave you a fantastic Mother's Day present.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. It's just a picture of you that she's holding right now, naked in bed.
Eating a rack of lamb.
Should be where the mint sauce is.
If that's what you call it. The Prime Minister, everybody. Thanks, Albo.
We're getting loose now.
Nathan, Nat and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.